Big, rich, big, rich, big, rich, big. So where to begin? The bipolar goon in a padded room, consumed by the coming doom. The return of Christ at noon split the world in two. Dude pursued the cool until he ruled in 2077. His life's due. The tomb of the devil erected in my room. He resurrected and reunited with the fools, the Hutus in 94 and Ouagadougou in 2016. I see the clues. The Ku Klux Klan in the form of the neighborhood crew.
Yeah. We back again. Saturday morning, Big Rich here, Big Rich live on the mic radio show here on YouTube. We've made it again, past a couple of weeks, and we now coming into the weekend, Saturday morning show. Hope everybody is feeling well, feeling encouraged, feeling hopeful, motivated to do something positive in your life. Shoot, heck, to do something positive for other people. That's all we're trying to do here. Each one teach one, in the building, bigger and better than ever. Big Rich here, Big Rich live on the mic radio show here on YouTube. And I appreciate you being here with us. We're going to chop up game for the next 35, 45 minutes. See if we can learn a couple of things. See if we can make the world a bigger and better place. So, on that note, welcome. Any other thing that we can think about to make this a better experience? That's what we're trying to do. So, welcome again. I'd like to thank each and everybody who sit here and ride here and listen to what we got to say. Good, bad, or indifferent. I appreciate everybody viewing, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. We just doing pretty good. Like I said, I think it was last Saturday's show. We had over 11,000 views, and this the Hump Day show just passed 5,000 views. So we trying to do what we can. I appreciate everything that people do to promote the channel, to share the channel, to contribute to the channel and to the show, by sending your emails and tweets and Instagram and liking our videos and pictures and stuff like that. It's really appreciated. I can't really explain to you how motivated it makes me feel when I look. We post a show, and I look, and within an hour, 2 hours, it's 200 and 300 views and stuff like that, and 50 likes. So I appreciate that. Keep it up. You keep your end up, I'll keep my end up. I'll keep talking until somebody tells me that this is no longer worth it. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see that happening. I really don't. This is therapeutic for me. I've been told by a number of you guys and gals this is therapeutic for you also. So, hey, we'll sit around here for the next 35, 45 minutes chopping up game. Working on the future as a family. Remember, all families, everybody in your families don't always get along all the time. You're going to have disagreements. You can have disagreements without being disagreeable. Always remember that. So here, everybody who knows me and has been listening to the show anytime in the past, they know that the show is in Orlando, Florida, and the nickname of this raggedy son of a gun is called the City Beautiful. I'm just kidding. I'm just acting stupid. But this weekend is called the Central Florida Classic. It's a weekend based around a historically black college homecoming, if you will. Not even homecoming, but it's a rivalry game. It's FAMU, which is located in Tallahassee, Florida, and versus Bethune-Cookman College, which is located in Daytona Beach. So every weekend, this city is inundated with hundreds of thousands of people who are alumni of one or both schools, and they descend down here to have the game. The game should be starting a couple of hours after this show goes up. So some of the people who are listening is probably either on the way or actually at the game, or just wait till after the game is over to listen to me. So what I like to say is, I like to say have fun, be careful, watch your surroundings, that type of stuff. And this is the funny thing. I've been in law enforcement 23 years and just retired about a month ago. And this is the first classic weekend because it's been, I can't even remember how far back it's been, but it's been here in Orlando for the last 15 years, 14, 15 years, maybe even 16 years. And this is the first classic weekend that I am not working, not ordered to work somewhere, and you know, taking notos and drinking coffee and stuff like that because you got to work regular shift for 12 hours. Then you got to go make, get your hustle on and make your extra bread, getting off at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, having to be to work to be on shift at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've done that before. I really do. So for all my brother and sister officers that are actually out there doing that, be careful. Good luck and better you than me. Granted, all that bread is nice. I used to get me a little knot, a couple, two, three grand at the end of the weekend, but I was beat down, dog tired. And the fact of the matter is, maybe about 6, 7 years ago, it was put forth by the powers that be that you could no longer take off. See, what I used to do, and a lot of my partners used to do, is we would take off. Like if that was your weekend to work, then you would actually take that weekend off, excuse me, and then you would work what they call off duty. You get your little side hustle on, so you still getting paid on both ends, and you not killing yourself. So they pretty much stuck a fork in that. So I mean, hey, what else you gonna do? If you want to make that bread, sometimes it's like, hey, I need to make that bread and stuff. So I just got to deal with it. It's only 3 days. It usually starts, Thursday night and run through Sunday night. So be careful out there. Y'all have fun, but be careful out there. Remember, like as we start our show, like, subscribe, share this show to your social media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, each one teach one. Like I said earlier in the little monologue that I started, that's how we grow. That's how we grow. You think about it. We had a uptick because we used two marketing firms, right? Well, we used to use two marketing firms, and we had an uptick to where some of our videos was going 7, 8,000 views, and then that one company, went bankrupt, out of business. I don't know, and our viewership dropped dramatically to like 12, 1,300, and I'm being told by other people who've been on YouTube for years and years and years and years, and they built their subscribership to a couple million, and each video gets 300,000, 400,000, all of that type of stuff. That this is pretty normal. Matter of fact, it's better than normal, because a lot of people have like no views or 5 views or 20 views or 100 views and stuff like that. So I was averaging over 1,000 views per video. But when you have a ego, that's just up with us. That's what's wrong with us guys, And you know what? Maybe I used the wrong word. Maybe I shouldn't have said wrong with us. It's just something different with us. We have egos, and when you look and you feel that you have done the research and you put out what you feel to be, conscious content and stuff like that, and then you look and you're not being appreciated, or at least if you're not, even if you feel that you're not being appreciated, where you got some likes and dislikes, at least that people are watching your videos and they're being engaged in your show and your platform that you're trying to build. So I went off on a little tangent on there, but I do appreciate it. Just hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like it, dislike button if you don't. Leave a comment. That's another thing that we have to work on with people leaving comments. I get so many emails and DMs on Instagram and just private tweets and stuff like that. and they just, it's like, I don't know if it's okay. I don't want to put my comments out there where everybody to see, or I want to ask a question, but I don't want to feel stupid answering the question. So why don't I just go ahead and email it, or direct message it and stuff like that. So, I won't feel stupid or ignorant or something. So I really can't blame people who feel that way. But what I try to tell them, when I answer that particular message or tweet or email, is that you have no idea how many people who watch the show who have that same question and might be scared to answer it or feel that is a stupid question. So if you put that question down there, you'll get other people not only to put questions down there, but you might ask the question that somebody else was scared to ask. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll give our social media platforms. Again, we just try to run this down so I don't forget anything, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the show. But our email address is bigrichliveonthemic@gmail.com or darkshadowmediagroup.com. Instagram is capital B. I'm sorry. Instagram is Big Rich Live on the mic _ between each word. Twitter is capital B, capital R, live on the mic. Our email addresses, I'm sorry, I said the email addresses. Our website addresses is www.bigrichliveonthemic.com and www.darkshadowmediagroup.com. So go ahead on and send us what you need to send or what you want to send. I don't want to put their names out because they didn't give me your permission to put their names out, but there was 4, not business proposals per se, but there was 4 ideas and just the premise of the ideas of small e-commerce businesses that we got. Actually, 2 came in the day of Hump Day show, Wednesday, and then 2 came in yesterday. And I haven't gotten a chance to email them back. But if you listen to the show, I got them, and they were pretty good. Really, really good. I will be getting back with you probably today, if not, it'll be Sunday, just to get back with you and stuff like that, and put my 2 cents in, and you go from there. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Our first subject we're going to talk about is because I got probably close to 55 emails and tweets since Wednesday's show about President-elect Donald Trump and his possible cabinet selections. And I'll tell you this. I really don't care that much. I really don't want to discuss it. And I'll say this, when I say I don't care and I don't want to discuss it, it's not that I'm trying to hide my head in the sand or anything like that, or telling you as the viewer that you, or the person who sent me, or the people, who sent me the emails, that you shouldn't care and I'm just tossing out your concerns, like some trash. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what did we expect? What did you expect? What did you expect? You were told that he was going to do. Stupidly, he's doing. Really, that's just like me saying, I read all of these books on Python or cobra, snake, and I'm being told this is not what you want. Stay away from that particular person. Don't fall asleep while that animal, that reptile, is slithering around, and I go in there and I fall asleep, or I start messing with that particular reptile and get bit. The first thing people say is, after, "Oh, poor baby, come, let's try to get you some antidote." You know what I'm saying? They're going to say is, "Fool, what did you expect? Why you in there messing with them? Why?" So in that aspect, I don't care too much to cover that and talk about that, because I expect that. Now, I say that on the caveat of saying we got bigger fish to fry. That we have to organize and right this ship called the Democratic Party. This is what I'll say. A lot of people say that the Tea Party and the Republicans as wholes are nuts. And I really don't have any evidence that shows anything different. Okay. You just look at the exit polls and just talk to people. Their plans, their views, the way they run things are counterintuitive to the majority of the country. You follow what I'm saying? But what you have to give them props for, and I'll be the first one to give them props for, is their ability to keep everybody in line. It's their commitment to their views, their issues, their party, if you will. So what happens is when you have independents and defendants, independent and Democrats, we all over the place because we're free thinkers by and large. There's always exceptions to the rules. So, you speak in general terms. You follow what I'm saying? But we're all over the place where certain Democrats might be for social justice. Certain Democrats might be for less government. Not oversight, but less government in telling you, yeah, that is oversight. So I would say yes, telling you exactly what to do, controlling that type of stuff, sending you to wars and all that type of stuff right there. Then you have another wing of the party what is down with, economics, living wage, that type of stuff right there. We are sort of a melting pot, so to bring everybody together, you have to have somebody that the majority of the Democratic Party and independents feel that is sprinkling all of their points and views and concerns. Everybody might not get everything, but everybody within the pot is getting something. So when I say there's work to be done to organize, you bring it back to, what was it, 2000? Let me see. President Barack Obama got in 2008. 2010 was the purge, if you will. Where the Tea Party swept in. What they was able to do is condense their bullet points, get people to buy in to their bullet points, and they went out and they voted. You feel what I'm saying? Now, that is going to be fairly hard in the Democrats and the independents because, like I said, a lot of us are free thinkers, and you're not really going to go into a scenario where all of us is going to agree all the time. So you have to, not that it has to be convoluted, but it has to be more detail oriented, where we're hitting everybody's bullet points and be like, look, we can't give you everything, but like I said, everybody's going to get something. So now you feel, okay, that's cool. I'm not gonna get everything I want. That person on this side didn't get everything they want. Let's pool together and let's move this party forward. So when I talk about local, state, local government, state government, this is where, you make your bones. This is where you organize and you get into city council and aldermans up north. They really call aldermans and like Washington, D.C. and stuff like that. It's basically city councilmen. County seats, county board of elections. Then you might move up to the state, like local representative. What I mean is you are a state senator or you are a state congressperson, but you are the congressperson for your particularly local area. You follow what I'm saying? This is where you have to really condense it, because whether you like it or not, we got 4 years of President Trump. Unless for some miraculous reason he gets convicted of this rape trial. Now, see, right now I'm being told, because it was supposed to jump off in December, which is next month, that he was supposed to go to trial for that possible child rape and whatever, and just that and the third. I don't know what type of evidence they got on the cat. I have no idea. I really don't. But I'm being told rightfully so on his people's side, that he's trying to get it postponed till after inauguration, because I mean, it's already going to be some shit. You know what I'm saying? With the inauguration, this is not going to go smooth. It's really not. I'm not saying that anybody gonna go and shoot up the place. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying it's going to be one of the few inaugurations where you're going to have a large contingent of disgruntled people who will be waving signs, who will be booing, who will show their disdain for this particular inauguration, for this particular win. There's a lot of disgruntled people. Now, it's so funny. I had one of my trolls who had said something, and I know this goes off the tangent, goes on a little tangent a little bit, but I'm gonna bring this up because I think it ties everything in. But one of the trolls was telling me on Twitter that just there was just as much disgruntled people when President Barack Obama got first elected and then reelected as it is now. And I was like, no, 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 you're wrong on that one there, bro. There could have been, I don't know, but you have national news and media outlets covering days and days and days of protests since the election and stuff like that. I mean, I don't remember it ever really being that deep. I'm not gonna say that bad, but that deep. I mean, I remember when a lot of people felt that W took the election, or his people stole the election from Gore, that there was some outrage and stuff like that. But again, I can't remember. I can't remember it being that deep and filled with that type of vitriol. So it's going to be some stuff. So the fact of the matter that you have this trial, which this is not a fraud trial. This is not a tax evasion trial. This is a rape, a possible alleged child rape trial. There's going to be a lot of mudslinging coming out, and you now talking about the defendant being the president-elect of the United States of America. So I don't know, but barring that, we stuck with dude for 4 years. And I tell you one thing: if the Democrats, the powers that be, don't wise up and realize that the whole party, the base of the party, has shifted. And you can't even say, you know what? Let me back that up. Because that's not entirely true. The base of the party has not shifted. The hierarchy of the base has shifted. The GOP has moved so far to the right that it drug the Democratic hierarchy to the center. You follow what I'm saying? See, both was I can't even say center right, not even the center, because both, around Ronald Reagan time, even with W, okay, yeah, they were right, but they was in between center and right. Democrats were left, but they were between center and left. So it was center left, center right. So you still have a teeter-totter, if you will. But after the Tea Party came in and the extremists of the of the Republican Party came, it shifted the center point of the Republican Party to the right, to the way right, which then pulled, because this is a teeter-totter, then pulled the Democrats. Instead of the Democrats staying their course. Because, but let's get back to it. Instead of them staying their course, they move center, and then now they're almost center right. So if you look at Hillary Clinton, and her ilk, they're corporate neocons. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're not progressives and liberals at all. It's that old school type thing. So if they don't realize that they have shifted to the right, but the base has stayed center left, I can care less to discuss somebody who I knew and was told that was going to do the same bull crap that he's doing now. I rather keep my eye on it to make sure you just not totally tipping the United States off a cliff. But being able to organize from a local and grassroots level with other people and bring the party, which is, if you by definition, you know, Democratic, Republican. You know what I'm saying? This is supposed to be a Democratic Republic. You feel me? So either or, six in one hand, half dozen in the other. But if you want an answer to the question, that is my answer. My answer is keep your eye on it. Don't stress about it, because this is what we all knew that he would do and people of his ilk would do had they got into it. I mean, there's certain parts of me who feels angry and feels sad about it, but nothing that happened Tuesday night for the election was a surprise to me. If it had have been, put it like this, if it had have been somebody like Bernie Sanders, somebody like even O'Malley, you know, Governor O'Malley, former Governor O'Malley, if it had have been one of them, maybe even Elizabeth Warren, something like that, and he won, I would have been shocked. But as I said before, and we're not going to get back into the election results and stuff like that, but what I said before, you know, we all knew, well, I can't even say we all, because a lot of people are just shocked, but people in the conscience community, people who read the tea leaves, if you will, who have open-mindedness in their heart and all of their policies in their life as a whole, are not surprised at the outcome, because Hillary Clinton was a horse with a bum leg that was put in a race that was all but wrapped up in a bow for her. And she just couldn't get it done. It was just too much dirt on her. So, you know, I hope that answers your question there, bro. We'll move on. Michael Dunn. Anybody who knows what's going on with these cases of vigilantism from George Zimmerman, you know, Michael Dunn, so on and so forth. Well, Michael Dunn, he was the white guy who who basically had an altercation, a verbal altercation with young Jordan Davis and I want to say two of his friends in Daytona, Jacksonville, something like that, Florida. And he alleged that they had a gun. One was never found. Shot into the car where they were fleeing and leaving the scene, wound up killing Jordan Davis, stuff like that. Excuse me, wound up killing Jordan Davis. And he was convicted. I want to say last year, but it just came out a couple of days ago that his appeal to the Federal Court of Appeals was denied. His conviction was upheld. And, you know, a lot of people had asked what I think about it. I think that that's what should have happened. You know, I'm not going to get into the black versus white thing. Even though I know that is significant. You know, let me say that's significant. But the fact, whether he was white, black, purple, green, humpback, blind, the fact that you would get into an altercation and continue to shoot into a car which is fleeing, okay, you did that. You did that. You didn't call the police. You didn't stay on the scene. You drove your fiance at the time. I think they was a fiance, but fiance, wifey, well, let's just say wifey, okay? You go to a hotel, you drink wine, you eat pizza, you know, next day, then you get up and you call, and because you find out something went down. I got a problem with that. I do. And then you put the racial aspect on top of it. It makes it even more egregious. What appeal do you have? He should have been convicted. If I was on the jury, I would convict him. You know, and I've never been on the jury because I've either been in the military, fighting overseas, or serving overseas, or a law enforcement officer, and usually we are not allowed. They really some in doing voir dire, either the prosecution or the defense will disqualify or exclude you because you look at things three-dimensionally. You don't look at things, or you should not. That's what I should say. We should not be looking at things through the lens of emotions. We look at things three-dimensionally by saying, okay, well, this is what the person was thinking, but this is what the law said. This is what the person could have done. This, that, and the third. That type of stuff. You feel me? So if I was on the jury, I would have voted to convict. So, what else can you say? Other than that's the way it should have been. He needs to spend the rest of his life behind bars because you took a life. You took a life, and you put yourself in that position to take that life. Everybody, and this is off on a beaten path, but it was a email that I got when they was talking about why don't they abolish the stand your ground laws and stuff like that. On the premise of the law, I see a lot of things that I can get with in the law. And what I mean by that is this. You as a citizen should not have to run, flee, cower from somebody who wants to do some harm to you. Okay? If I'm with my family, if I'm by myself walking, it's 2:00 in the morning and I'm walking to my car. My girlfriend, my wife is walking out of a club, to her car, or I'm just in a neighborhood where I might not know anybody. I should not have to run for my life because somebody want to run up on me and they want to do harm for me. So the premise of stand your ground, which is I'm walking around minding my business. You come to me with some threats. You come to me to do harm to me, my family, that type of stuff there. You come to me with that, and I'm not having it. I'm not running. I'm going to stand my ground and defend myself and my people. I have no problem with that. There should be a caveat because you would think that it's self-explanatory and or common sense. We all know that common sense is not common with everybody, but it still should be self-explanatory that you cannot or should not be able to claim stand your ground when you put yourself in that position in the first place. Meaning you go up on somebody arguing, you go with somebody talking to them in a negative way or maybe threatening them when they shouldn't be threatened, or they shouldn't be in that frame of mind where they feel threatened from you. And then when they go to turn the tables on you and they beating the brakes off you, as in George Zimmerman, because you see George Zimmerman is a punk. But anyway, we're not gonna get in that. But they turn around and now they dogging you. Now you want to end their life and then claim stand your ground. So on those premises and stuff like that, sometimes you have to do laws that are specific and exclude a lot of things sometimes. And I understand laws, but sometimes with stuff like that, when you have the possibility of the injury or the loss of life, you need to really say, this doesn't qualify, this doesn't qualify, this doesn't qualify. You cannot put yourself in that situation and then claim self-defense. You follow what I'm saying? That's like when I was growing up, you jump on somebody, okay? You jump on somebody that you're not supposed to jump on. They turn around, they kick your behind. Now you go back at the bat and beat them upside the head when you see them. Again, but claim self-defense. You put yourself in that situation. Michael Dunn put himself in that situation, and he need to grow old and die slow in the penitentiary. That's all I can say. He put himself in that position. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shoot, if you looked at his wife at the time, she looked like she was meek and real soft spoken, and she probably told him, "Look, leave them boys alone. Come on back to the car." She probably was shocked when the shots rung out. What was she supposed to say? So he put himself in that position. Last one. We'll move on. The last one we want to talk about is the Minnesota case. Philando Castile, may he rest in peace. The officer who shot him was charged. I think Wednesday. I think a lot of things happened when we went off here Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, that he was charged with second-degree manslaughter. And if you want to Google the entire press conference, you can do so. Just put down Philando Castile, second-degree manslaughter. Excuse me. And you can watch it and listen to it attentively, because he lays out a very good case. I went back and forth. First of all, let me give a disclaimer. Majority of my friends and all of my boys, well, all except two, are cops. One of them is retired like me. The other three, yes, three. The other three are still law enforcement officers. Now, we get into discussions and debates and stuff like that, and I think it's very healthy. We get into disagreements without being disagreeable. But I went back and forth with one of my boys about this, and I remember he had said something to the effect that the police officer said that he told, oh, no, I'm sorry, not said, I'm sorry. The police officer told Mr. Castile, don't reach for the gun. Mr. Castile reach for the gun, and he shot him, right? And I remember immediately asking him the question right after he said that. I was like, okay, is that coming from the cop who said that? Or is there some audio? Like maybe he had a audio from a body cam, or maybe there was audio and a dash cam coming from his patrol car. Was that something that he said, or is that something that we have to hear for ourselves? Because if he said that's what he said, I find that kind of hard to believe. And again, some people say, well, you don't know this cat and this, that, and the third. But being a cop for 23 years and being a man for 48 years, I understand that the overwhelmingly majority of people do not want to get in trouble. And it's just human nature that it's that's what it's not even, when I say human nature, we're talking about self-preservation. Not saying that you're just going to totally lie and fabricate a story, because not everybody's built that way. But you might omit something, or there is a, right here, like something that is egregious to you, something that will put you in harm's way, a la your job or your freedom. So you pull that out and stick something else in, or you just jump right over that. So that's why I had to ask that question. But I always tell people this here. It's hard for you to tell me that you are in fear for your life in an open state, Texas, Arizona, I want to say, New Mexico, obviously Minnesota, Atlanta, Georgia, I think is an open carry state now. I had to do my research as far as I'm concerned. But that means every other person that you see walking through Walmart, Target, Publix, Kroger's, whatever, with long guns, with revolvers and semi-automatics strapped to their holsters, to their side, under their jackets, that type of stuff right there. It's like the norm. So when you have a situation where I'm in an open carry state, it's hard for me to say that I'm in fear because this person has a weapon on them. Now, Florida is not per se an open carry state, but I have stopped plenty of people who've had knives and guns on them. And in the state of Florida, you are required to let a law enforcement officer know that you have a weapon and you're not allowed to carry like a long ass machete or a loaded gun on your person without the CCW, the concealed weapons permit. So it is required, once you pass that course, it is required you let people know that if you're a stopper, you come in contact with any law enforcement official, you have to tell them. An open carry state is different. In most open carry states, you cannot even ask them for their identification. It's an open carry state. So you can't, because I have a gun and I'm walking down the street, you can't stop me and identify me because I have a gun on my waist or slung over my shoulder. I think that's dangerous. I really do. And again, I know I got my gun nuts and stuff like that be mad as hell at me and say, I don't know, but I think that's just dangerous. I really do. You know, if you want to have guns, that's cool. Keep your gun, your holster, you know, your revolver, whatever that, keep it covered. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, you should in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, stuff like that, have like a vest on because I know it's hot. You know, it's that heat. So you don't want to have a coat on, but you know, have like a vest on so it's covered. You know, walking around with assault rifles. You know what I'm saying? F-16, not F-16s, AR-15 and M-16s and all that. What the hell? I mean, what do you need that for? Walking down the street. I just don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? You're not going hunting, or maybe you are. I don't know. But I believe that he should have been charged. I believe that was a dereliction of duty. I believe that was a coward officer. And I say that not knowing this officer personally. I'm saying that as a fellow law enforcement officer who has done 23 years of service, who has been state and nationally certified in firearms and defensive tactics and aggressive driving, you know, all of that type of stuff. So I understand. I have trained with and have trained officers all over this country. So I understand. I have a unique view, if you will, on these type of situations, you know. And if you remember the video that his fiance, the mother of his children, had put out when she was on Facebook Live, he was frantic. He was yelling and screaming. He was just frantic. You know, I just think he just hit that loop. We call it OODA loop. That he was just like, oh shoot, what did I just do? That's what it came across to me. It wasn't that, oh, I'm so scared, this, that. It was, oh shit, excuse my French, but oh shit, I done shot somebody and it looks like that person is dying. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's what I took from the video. But I did gather something that he had said when he was saying that, you know, I told him don't reach for it. I told him keep his hands up, something like that. And then she immediately was like, no, you didn't, sir. He said whoop, whoop, whoop. And you said whoop, whoop, whoop. And then you shot him. Something like that. You know, I'm paraphrasing because obviously she didn't say whoop, whoop, whoop. But you know what I'm saying? So things go in circles. And what I mean by that is when you have something that happens and then people get away with it, you know, like the George Zimmerman thing happened, then you notice that you had, you know, some that finished. You had the white guy in Michigan who shot, I want to say, Shanisha McBride, shot her through his closed door because she was knocking on his front door trying to get help for an accident she had had. And then you had the Jordan Davis thing. You know, it's like, you know, you have your ebbs and flows. You know, everybody get away with it. Well, that guy in Michigan, he's serving jail now. Mike Dunn serving jail now. Now it's sort of tailed off because people are like, ooh, we can't do exactly what we're doing or what was done. You know, we got to be more careful. And the same thing I feel it will happen if more police officers who do wrong things get fired, charged, and convicted. Because then what it does is it sends the message to the masses, okay, we have to be better. Because what I said in one of our earlier shows, I think before we went on video, I was saying that when I came on, which is not too long ago, I came on in 1993, we were told that you do not pull that trigger unless all three things happen. Not one, not two, all three. First one was that you was protecting life, your life. Two, you was protecting somebody else's life. Three, you can articulate that that is a weapon. Because at first it was that's a gun, But then when we found out that, you have people who are knife experts that can throw a knife, they can pull a knife out and throw it 21 feet and kill you before you pull the trigger. People are that just that good. So you got to be able to say, this person stuck his hand or her hands in their purse, in their waistband, pulled out a gun, a gold, chrome, nickel-plated revolver, a semi-automatic. They pulled out a shotgun from under their dress, or their long trench coat or something like that, going back to the Wild West, that type of stuff right there. And that's why I pulled the trigger. It has moved to now I can say, I told that person to take their hands out of their pockets. They wouldn't take their hands out of their pockets. They made a quick movement. I thought it was a gun and I shot them. And they've gotten away from it because people think that, oh, well, shoot, you should automatically, do everything the police says. Well, what do you know if the person's mentally unstable? Do you know if the person is on drugs? Do you know if the person is drunk? Do you know if the person even understands your language? That type of stuff. And again, I'll be the last one, anybody who knows me, I'll be the last one to say, hey, don't second guess, when somebody is threatening you with a firearm and stuff like that. That just be stupid. That'll be stupid. But I also will say is that I had guns pointed at me. I've been shot at. Didn't know where it was coming, but I've been shot at over my 23 years. I've never had to shoot anybody, thank God. But I've always used this and this in any situation. Been in foot pursuits, been in vehicle pursuits, been in knockdown, drag out fights, all of that type of stuff right there. And I never had to end somebody's life. I'm not saying that it is no time whatsoever that you should not take a life, because that will be wrong. But what I'm saying is we have moved from you saying that this person had this, I know. And then once the person is expired, you see the gun right there, or you see the knife right there, or there are witnesses that said that they saw, and I'm not talking about witnesses or fellow cops, I'm talking about witnesses in the streets, excuse me, witnesses that are driving around and they see what you saw. It's went from that to what I just described. So in this instance, I know some people have sort of sent me, when they retweeted it to me, I had a couple DMs and some private tweets that was, saying, hey, I bet you protect your guy and stuff. Well, obviously that's got to be a troll, but if anybody knows me, I don't protect anybody. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Fellow brother, sister, officer or not. I don't want any of my fellow brothers and sisters to be hurt and lose their lives, anything like that at all. It hurts you to my core anytime it happens. But I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, well, this person, this, that, and the third, when I know that person is wrong. Because my credibility is done. And I feel, and I said this at my retirement, that it is an honor and a privilege to be the police. It really is. It really is. I tell people sometimes that they don't know. Do you know that as the police, the power that you have, you can arrest anybody in the United States except for the President of the United States? Now, that doesn't mean that the person's going to jail, but you can put the handcuffs, on pretty much anybody. That is a lot of power to have. You have to take that in stride. You have to be better. Because remember, we're trained. We're trained. I was a trainer. I was in charge of training. But let's just say I wasn't a trainer. Let's just say I wasn't in charge of training. I got 23 years of training. Every year we got 40 hours in different training tactics, different firearms, all of this type of stuff right there. There is no excuse for me to make that type of egregious mistake other than if I was slipping. And if I make that mistake, like remember what I told you before, that saying, some mistakes you can survive and some mistakes you can't. And in this instance, he should have been charged. He should lose his job. He should be convicted. You took a life wrongfully, whether it was a mistake or not. If you want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, look, he was just a coward and he just made a mistake. Okay. I'm not saying that the person is bad. I don't know that this person is a bad guy. Michael Slager, the guy who shot, Wendell Scott, I think that's his name, shot him in the back and then was shown on video trying to plant evidence and then lied about it. That's a bad guy. That's a bad guy. I'm not too sure if this officer in Minneapolis, was a bad guy or is a bad guy. I have no idea. But he made a mistake which cost a man his life. And you should be punished for it. We represent the law. We're not the law. We're not above the law. So that's my case on that. We will continue to update you on that case. I'm really looking forward to that case. The prosecutor did not do the coward thing that Tim McKenty and McCullough from Ferguson, Missouri did. And, the guy in Staten Island, run to the grand jury, and put it in the grand jury. My thing is this. I could be wrong because I don't know everything, but I don't think people vote you as a district attorney or hire you, or the district attorney hire you as assistant district attorney to run to the grand jury every time. They hire you, at least me, I vote for you to make the decision. Now, whatever decisions it may be, if you look at all the evidence, you feel that it's something that is not egregious, then you should be able to stand up there and say, I'm not filing a case on this particular officer or this particular person because this, that, and the third, and be able to stand up there to be able to articulate your positions and show why not. But on the other end, you should, if you know that something is egregious, you should be able to go out there and file the charges and prosecute the case. Because it was really something funny that I think D.L. Hughley the comedian has said. He said that it's funny how if I rob a bank and it's caught on video, or not even I rob a bank. Let's say that. Let's just say I, as a regular citizen, shoot somebody, and it's covered and it's captured on tape, on video. The prosecutor would arrest me, charge me, prosecute me, and in their opening arguments, they will say, "This is a clear-cut case. It's all on video. The video shows everything that this defendant did. The video shows this defendant walk up in cold blood, shoot and kill whoop-de-whoop." But that same prosecutor, if it's a law enforcement officer, will say, well, we got to wait for the whole investigation because we don't know everything that happened. We don't know what happened before the video started. You feel me? And I'm laughing about it because I thought that was extremely funny. Yet 100% right. On one end, you say the video shows a clean cut case. But on the other end, you say the video didn't capture everything. So the fact that this prosecutor in Minneapolis, Minnesota, decided to bypass the grand jury and charge this officer, to me is a good step, because that's what I feel that our state's attorney should do. Man up, because like I said, if it's not a cop, it's not a fellow officer, you are filing charges on regular citizens every day. Every day. So on that end, we're going to end on a positive. Remember, I told you, we talk about a lot of dreary things here and there and stuff like that, but we end on a positive note. And the positive note we're going to end on is being your own boss. Okay? You should be working towards, everybody should have their own hustle. And remember, like I said before, I got to say this. You have to make sure it is a legal hustle, okay? But everybody need to have their own hustle. Everybody needs to try to be their own boss. Even if you work a 40-hour week for somebody else and on a corporate plantation or something like that, you still should have your own hustle, your own little side business that not only you giving yourself a leg up and you're having more money to spend and make your life and your family's life better, but you can't, remember this, you can't bequeath a job. You know what I'm saying? You can't put your job, I don't care if you're making $300,000 a year, you cannot bequeath, excuse me, you cannot bequeath that job to your children. Period. You just can't. But if you making that $200,000 or $300,000, or even if you're making $200 or $300 every week, and you got your own hustle making the same $200 or $300 a week, God forbid something happens to you, you can then bequeath that hustle, that business, to your family. We need to start thinking about that. Being your own boss. You should be thinking about that all the time, every day. And you also got to realize that you don't have to do it by yourself. You don't. Let me tell you, the hardest thing, and this is just my personal opinions, but the hardest thing to have your own business, to be your own boss, is to come up with the initial plan, not the money. Because most of us have people who can kick in, even if it's $50, $25, $100. Most of us have people, like, if you get a bunch of, even if you get a pool in your job, we all making a minimum wage. We say, okay, look, this is what we need. We need $500 to get this business off the ground. Let's all put $25 down on this. Yeah, what's that, like 22? 22 people or something like that, right around that area. You put that together, you got your money, you move on. You know what I'm saying? You move on. So let's think about that. I'll leave you with that. Think about it. Think about being your own boss, getting your hustle on, doing your own thing. I don't care what it is. Most of us have something that we do. So most people can either bake or sew or sing or write. Even if you was like, look, I write resumes. I'll write letters. For whatever. I'll write letters to parole board. I don't know what it is. Something out there that you are good at that has nothing to do with your job, that you can use as your side hustle, as your independent business. So on that note, that's the end of our show. It went longer. Shoot, we've been here an hour. It's been a while since we've done an hour show, but sometimes we just get to rolling and stuff like that. So stay blessed, stay encouraged, stay safe, peace, and we out of here.